So today I'm going to be presenting in this video the way that I would use the method of object boxes to teach a fourth grade social studies lesson on the four main industries of Utah. As I explained in my paragraph in the write-up for our exam, I would use this method at the very beginning of the lesson, and I would just present the objects in a random order to the class and would then give them some time later to see if they could come up with what industries they think are represented by the objects in the box and which categories they think are similar based on the objects that are represented. Today, given for our time restraints and everything, then I'm just going to present the objects in the categories that I've organized them into. That way we'll save some time. So I'll start today with the mining industry. So the first object in our object box for the mining, to represent the mining industry, is this homemade pickaxe, obviously an important tool to use in mining. The penny, which would represent the copper mine here in Utah. A lantern, which would be used in the deep mines because it's obviously dark down there. A helmet. Now, I didn't have a real mining helmet, so I used my brother's baseball helmet. I would tell the kids in the class that this is just to represent a regular helmet, not necessarily a helmet for baseball. We have these tools, a hammer and this drill. Again, another tool used in mining. And lastly, this is a sign for, I don't know if you can see it very well, it says Hercules powder, high explosives, dangerous. And my grandfather worked for this company, Hercules, and they supplied the explosives that were used in the copper mine when it was an active mine. So that's the last object for our mining industry. The second industry that are represented by the objects in this box is the agriculture industry here in Utah. So the objects in the box for agriculture would be this apple, this chicken, obviously part of agriculture, and these two gardening tools, so these clippers and this gardening shovel. So those objects represent, again, the agricultural industry here in Utah. The next industry that is represented by the objects in the box is going to be the oil industry. So first we have this picture of an oil rig. And secondly, we have a gas can, again representative of oil and petrol. And last but not least, in our object box, we have objects that represent the tourism industry in Utah. And the tourism industry, at least in Utah, is kind of twofold because we have the skiing industry, or the skiing aspect of tourism, and then also the national parks, southern Utah tourist scene, which is also a part of the tourism industry here in Utah. So the objects that we have to represent the tourism industry here in Utah is firstly this book that shows some pictures of southern Utah and the national parks that we have here in Utah that draws a lot of tourists here to Utah. We have these ski goggles. Hot hands to keep your hands warm while you're skiing, and this pair of snow pants or ski pants. So again, what I would do with my class is I would just represent or show these objects without saying anything about them and not presenting them in an organized way like I just did. But then I would give them time and I would lay the objects out so that they could kind of see which objects they think are related, which might represent the same industry, and which industries they think are represented by each of the objects in the box. So that is my method for teaching object boxes.